Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. We're just waiting for people to fill in the room. Thanks so much for being with us this evening. We're really excited about our November Fear-Free Fun webinar. This is my first fun webinar. I've only done our unfun webinars until now, so very excited. I'm Christy Keith, Senior Communications Strategist for Fear-Free. And before we get started, let me explain a little bit about how this will work. First, hundreds of you submitted photos of your pets, which was amazing. And we randomly selected two. One of them, John drew prior to this evening, which was submitted by Allison Faust, and one he'll be drawing for you live as you watch, which was submitted by Jana Rooston. John will be revealing the photo he already completed, and while he's doing his live drawing, he'll also be sharing funny and interesting stories of past pets he's drawn and talking about his process, answering any questions you have along the way. Please, if you have questions, just type them into the Q&A interface or the chat window, and I'll just read them to him so he can respond without taking a break from his creative process, which I'm sure you'll all agree would be just wrong. It's now my pleasure to introduce him. Since 2010, June 10th, 2010, exactly, and I'm going to be asking him about that later. John has been hand drawing custom pet illustrations, and he wants you to know, it's very important that you know that this is mostly with his right hand. His carefully detailed creations are drawn from your photos and descriptions to capture your pet's unique look and personality, and you can learn more at caninecaricatures.com. And John will be showing you a lot of examples of that this evening, so you can get a good idea of what that's like and have some fun with it, because some of them are really hysterical. So anyway, thank you for being with us this evening, John. I'm going to just turn this over to you now.
Well, thank you very much. It is my pleasure, my honor to be with you guys. I think this is Dr. Becker described this type of event to me, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I hope you guys get some enjoyment out of watching me draw. What you'll see today is you're not going to see my hand. I'm just going to be sharing my screen with you. I draw digitally, so what it is you see in front of you is a digital illustration using the Procreate software just on my iPad. I've spent the past 10 years drawing with marker and colored pencil, doing caricatures, but I just recently transitioned to this digital style this past year, and I'm doing my best to try and make it pretty much look the same. So what you're seeing here in front of you is a drawing that I did recently for someone who lives here in the Dunedin, Florida area where I live. And this is specifically Honeymoon Island. They have a wonderful dog beach there that I take my dogs to all the time. And you'll notice in many of these drawings, I do draw a lot of squirrels. It is a request that I get from folks quite a bit.
And my dogs would be a big fan of that. So.
Yeah, squirrels and lizards is something that comes up quite a bit. So let me give you guys just like a basic idea of what it is that I do in general and how I break it down, so it'll kind of make sense what it is you see. The first thing, like you just saw with one basset hound on a beach, another basset hound on a beach here, the full scene is one of my favorite drawings to do. It's there's so much encompassed in it, and a lot of times folks will come at me with a very, very specific photo, a very specific location that they want addressed. Sometimes it's a scene from a movie that they want recreated. I've done Breakfast at Tiffany's and Casablanca, some Marvel movies, having a basset hound in an Iron Man costume. There's just something that's very difficult and fun about that to draw, and then it's just incredibly bizarre and surreal to see that all put together on a piece of paper. So I do the full scene pet caricatures. One step away from that is the favorite things. This is by far the most common requests that I get. This can be the dog's favorite things, people's favorite things. It doesn't matter what that thing is. The more you tell me, the more I'm going to try and throw in there. And then it's my balancing act to put that composition together in a way that I like to think of as very ironic. It can be a very bizarre thing having a Jeep with dog bones and peanut butter in a swimming pool. Anything that you can throw at me, I'm going to try and get into that drawing. From there, I go to just the basic pet portrait. That is just like it says. It's what it is the pet looks like. When I'm asking for photos from folks, what I want them to show me in these photos is what does the animal look like. Describing their personality is helpful, but I need reference of what it is they simply look like. Do they got spots on their nose and freckles on their toes? And if you're showing me a picture that doesn't allow me to see their tail at all, I don't know what it looks like. If you want their ears only drawn up, don't only send me photos with only the ears back. I often say that you're going to send me a photo of what it is you think your dog looks like, and I'm going to send you a caricature of what I think your photos look like. So good reference is always really, really, really helpful. And then lastly, just the line art. These are great for the minimalist art fan and dog owner out there. I think they look great in and of themselves. Throwing multiple animals onto a single page can be difficult because they're just lines, but it is very doable. And it's just got that minimalist look to it that's very, I find it very calming, very satisfying to draw those. So those are the 4 different styles that I work with. And if you make it your way over to caninecaricatures.com, it's a very, very easy ordering process, and you just upload your photos with it. So that being said, I drew kitty cat for Allison, and she had described her pet as being, she's a very sweet girl who loves her mouse toys. She loves people, and she's the cuddliest cat you will ever meet. So there is Sheba. A lot of times I'm working from multiple different photos, but if I just have that one photo to work with, I'm going to do my best to try and figure out where all the whites on the tail are, and how far down does the markings on the fur go. But that being said, this is Sheba. She loves her mouse toys. And there she is with one of her mouse toys. Drew this one up for Allison, and she will be getting this complimentary from Canine Caricatures and Fear Free. Side by side, I do my best to make sure that I am getting first and foremost the likeness of the animal, and then everything else from there is just how it is that I see the world. And how it is that I see the pets, and I have my caricature goggles on. So Allison, I hope you like it. I will be in touch with you to talk about how it is that we get this to you and what all the options are.
I see Allison is in the audience. I'm just wondering, how did he do, Allison? You can type your answer. Let us know if he caught Sheba there for you.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I'm curious to hear from Allison. One of the things that I want to point out too is that when these drawings are done, what it is that I am providing to you is a digital file that makes it very convenient that you can, if you have a local business that you love to support, you can get printed up with them. I provide you high quality, high resolution files. We also provide a very convenient option of getting stuff printed with us, with our partner, Fine Art America, where you can decide what size you want of the picture, You can decide what kind of frame you want. We do apparel, we do shower curtains if you want them. So all of that is available to you once that drawing is done. So I wanted to throw that out there. Have we heard from Allison?
No, I
No,
don't
not
think
yet.
she knows how to respond, so we can
Okay.
just go on.
All right. Sounds good. So without further ado, the drawing that I am going to be doing this evening is this beautiful pup. This is Bobby. The Bobby's parent is, I believe it's Jana Rusin. So this is Bobby, and he really loves to play with frisbees or anything that you can throw, balls, sticks. He's just a really playful boy. That's how she has described Bobby. So without further ado, you're going to see my process and how it is that I go through drawing one of these things. Usually I'm doing this in a very distracted environment. I have kids who are schooling from home right now. So just being able to just work right now is a great opportunity for me. So I hope that you enjoy just watching the process here.
So I know you're going to be getting started here, John, but I definitely want to know what happened June 10th, 2010 to turn your whole professional life around. So
yeah, June 10th, 2010, that was Father's Day 2010. So I had been working doing caricatures at theme parks, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens in Tampa. And the company I worked for, they had transferred me up to Columbus, Ohio to manage and train the artists at the zoo. And all of a sudden, I wasn't an artist anymore. I was just a manager, and it was no fun for me to be drawing. So I found a way to just take a personal day off. And in that personal day, my wife and I set up at an arts and crafts festival. And I got a chance to sit down and draw caricatures at this arts and crafts festival. And while I was doing it, some folks came up and they asked me if I would draw their poodles. And I remember while I was at the theme parks, that was something I always told myself is get better at drawing animals, because I was terrible. It's like the worst thing that I could possibly do.
wow.
So I reluctantly said yes. I will draw your animals. And while I was finishing up, I think it was 3 poodles in this drawing. I wasn't really sure how I was doing, but I looked behind me and there was a line of people with their dogs waiting to get their dogs drawn.
Oh, wow.
So that's just how the whole thing kind of started for me and my wife, just deciding, all right, well, I think we're on to something now. And everything changed at that point. We threw everything at the wall to try and figure out how to make drawing dogs something that I'm doing for a living. I quit my job at the zoo, and
Wow.
thankfully I have my wife's support to be able to figure out, what is the process here of doing this for a living. But I've been doing it for about 10 years now. And I consider that the beginning of that process.
So did you have a dog yourself?
At the time, I didn't.
Wow.
We had really just been in Columbus for about maybe 6 months, and during that time, and I'm working over at the zoo, my wife is being, super mom at home, and we didn't bring any pets with us from Florida up there, and so I wasn't used to having pets in the house at all. But shortly after we decided to do this, is when it is that she said, "Can we just go by the Humane Society just to look?" Yeah.
Just looking. Oh, well, yeah.
That's the one.
That always
Can we
works.
just go and look? Yeah, so we were very lucky on this particular day to have found our first family pet, named Supermax Fishbone.
Oh, that's
He's
great.
very much, we've got neighborhood kids convinced that he is a hyena. Not the most attractive looking dog, but tons of personality. He is who he is, and I've never seen another dog that looks just like him.
Hysterical. Do you draw
Yeah,
him?
I've drawn him a number of times. Yeah, he's very used to it. I wish I had easy access to it, but every time I go, I have 3 dogs now, 2 cats. At one point, we had 4 cats and 2 turtles as well, but we're down to that many animals right now. But I went to take a picture of Max and his sister Jules not too long ago to draw some demos up of them, and they just refused to look at the camera.
Of course, of course.
Just just doing everything they could to just ignore me and look away.
So we have a question from someone in the audience wanting to
Yeah,
know what, I think you mentioned this in passing, but what kind of sketch app do you use?
this is Procreate. Um, I'm pretty sure it's a iPad only. I'm using an iPad Pro that's specifically useful for doing digital illustration and design. Um, there are a couple other uh, art specific um, apps to use, but this is the one that has. When I started going digital, my all my colleagues that I've worked with over the years suggested that this was the most user friendly, and I wanted to be able to jump in and figure it out. It took me a while to figure out how to duplicate. There's all kinds of markers, there's paint brushes, textures. You'll see some textures when I'm drawing here um, that I just simply use as brushes. It's a great program. My son, I have an 8-year-old son. He also uses it on his mom's iPad to draw Pokemon, and
Oh,
he
that's
is
great.
yeah, it's great. He's and we teach each other stuff all the time. I'll say, "Hey, did you realize you could do this if you press here? It'll bring up something like this." And I'll be like, "What? I did not know you could do that." So he'll teach me stuff like that that we find out by accident with each other, and we go to share it
Great.
with his mom, and she says, "Yeah, I knew that already."
That's great.
Yeah. So this is basically when I'm drawing my sketches, I start out with as you saw, this is a very rough sketch, and then I get that thing drawn in um, uh, black and white lines before I start coloring. That's how everything is going to start for me. And so when I'm doing the line art drawings that I showed you earlier, it's based off of this. The line art, when I'm working on this, I have to make sure all these lines are closed so the color stays inside. But when I do the line art for commissions, they're very open, very flowing. I'm not trying to keep any color in there. So, but that's how all the drawings are going to start, is just like this.
Great.
So, if it's okay, I just want to take a little break. Do we have any other questions on?
Nope, no one else had asked anything else.
Okay.
So if you want to jump into and show some of your examples, I have a couple
Yes.
questions, but let's do.
Okay. Okay. So, my things that I want to show you here. Over the years, I've drawn thousands of dogs. I think I'm about to hit on my website my 6,000th order.
Wow.
That in and of itself means at least 6,000 dogs, or cats, or horses, or pigs, or iguanas, or whatever you got. But on average, I'd say that's at least 2 pets per drawing, because some of them are 5, some of them are 3, some of them are 4. So let's just say with the in the 10 years that I've been doing this, I'm about 10,000 dogs in at this point. So about 1,000 dogs, pets a year is what it is I'm drawing. So I've drawn a lot of them. Um, so to give you an example of the kind of when folks are giving me their photos and their descriptions of what it is that they would like me to do, I you will find that I just take their descriptions very literally, and that's what kind of creates a bizarre product. This particular customer, can you see it? Okay, Chrissy, this is
Oh,
two
yeah.
Chihuahua pugs. Okay, so this particular customer asked me to, can you draw these two studs drinking beers? The one-eyed one is named Peanut. She wants him dressed as a cowboy, and the two-eyed one, Gidget. First, let me interrupt myself. I think it's funny that she's describing one of the dogs as two-eyed. That's, you know, so the two-eyed one, Gidget, dressed as a farmer. So both of them drinking beers. One's a cowboy, one's a farmer. She says they're pretty derpy looking, so feel free to bring out their best features. So I don't know what it is that they're talking about, but it has all the things that are a great inside joke to her. I can appreciate that. That whatever it is she wanted me to do, I hope I captured it for her. Another fun one here. This one is Gary for a client in the UK. Cat named Gary. She says, the photo I've sent you has flour all over his face. It's been a long running joke that this was his Scarface phase. So
Right.
if there's any way we could make this a little more, say hello to my little friend.
Hysterical.
So sure, absolutely. Yeah, and without the context, I've had people taking a look at this, really trying to figure out what it is that's going on. But when you have the context of Scarface and their little inside joke, I can appreciate that as well.
That's so great.
Another series of inside jokes here. This is Atlas is the brown one, Roxy is the white one. She envisions something along the lines of Rocky riding Atlas like a horse. Rocky has some pearls on, or a crown, a magic wand, or something just real fancy because she thinks she's a queen. Atlas has a loaf of bread in his mouth. That's the request. Can you put a loaf of bread in his mouth? The boy loves food and tennis balls. I put the tennis ball in last on the necklace, but while I was putting these photos together for you guys, it hadn't occurred to me. I hadn't looked at this in a while, but the piece of bread is the bit that the the reins are going into. So I hadn't even noticed that. I apparently thought that was a pretty funny joke for myself when I did that one. One more here before I get back to the drawing, but this beautiful young lady is Blossom. She is somewhat internet famous, is amputee, as you can see from the prosthetics on her hind legs that you can see in the lower photo. Gentleman, I've drawn her for a couple of times for this gentleman. He said, I'm a huge 80s Cyndi Lauper fan, and I want you to recreate the Cyndi Lauper album cover with Blossom in place of Cyndi, with the flowers in her hand, using as much of the background as you deem necessary. And believe me, I deemed it all necessary, including the umbrella. And so I used her prosthetics as it's difficult to see in this photo, but Cyndi Lauper's shoes are off and they are at her feet. So I've got her prosthetics off, and she's just dancing away. And the title of the album is "She's So Unusual," and so that's Blossom is unusual herself. I've done a lot of stuff for a lot of dogs that have their disabilities and work their way through them, just like we would hope we'd all be able to. So she's very famous, and she has a lot of followers, and she's a pretty neat lady. So I'll get back to my drawing.
Yeah, and we have a question from the audience wanting to know what advice you'd give to someone who's trying to become an artist.
Besides draw every day, the best advice that I give, people often think of as cheating, but my advice is trace. Learn how to trace the artist that you find appealing, whose style you are inspired by. Get yourself some tracing paper or use something digital like this to be able to trace over their lines. I learned how to draw by tracing over Mad Magazine and comic books when I was a kid, inadvertently teaching myself how to draw. I didn't realize I was doing that. But by doing so, I learned a lot of basic anatomy and gesture, how to draw hands, how to draw noses and eyes. Didn't realize I was teaching myself how to draw, but I was. And you'll develop your own voice over time. But even Salvador Dali, here in St. Pete, Florida, we have the Salvador Dali Museum, and in the first few rooms, there he is, mimicking
John,
the
it looks
great
like
artist.
your screen share dropped.
It did? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll jump back in there.
There you are. You're back.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the advice that I give all artists is don't be afraid to emulate artists that you are inspired by.
Great. Thank you. So, as you know, I told you I was going to ask this question because I'm consumed with curiosity as to what is the weirdest request you've ever had for something to include in a pet portrait.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the key is it's a pet portrait, right? I have people all the time ask me if I draw people, and I can. I don't. And how I draw people into my drawings now is with those favored things. So if you like the Pittsburgh Steelers, well, let's get the Pittsburgh Steelers into the drawing. Weirdest thing. Again, they're all inside jokes. I can appreciate when people are asking me to draw their inside jokes. Can you draw my French bulldog on a Segway at the Indy 500? Okay, sure. I have no idea why you want that, but I can appreciate the fact that you do. I have tons of movie requests. Drawing a dog in a Volkswagen Beetle with Jack Skellington from A Nightmare Before Christmas. Anything that I have to find reference for is a strange enough request.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever it is that and I do get these every once in a while, including drugs or including paraphernalia of some kind, I don't mind doing that. I enjoy doing it if they think it's funny enough. But what I refuse to do absolutely, and I get this a lot too, is anything that is hate related. I refuse it. I have to turn that down, but I have gotten plenty of requests of swastikas and KKK. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So
have you got asked, has anyone asked you for something like that?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And I turn them down. It's not in my, it's not in my wheelhouse to be able to do that. Maybe I have somebody else do that for you, but it's not going to be me, unfortunately. So strange requests. There's tons of them out there. I enjoy doing them. I do have one that somebody wanted with their one-eyed pug, which I didn't realize until I started doing this for a living is actually very common, as many of you are probably very aware. But they wanted their one-eyed pug in a like a warrior princess costume. I can pull this one up if I need to. But she hates eggs and loves socks, and they wanted it very epic. So I drew one of those very, very epic types of drawings like you see with like National Lampoon's Vacation, where you got it's like or like a Star Wars movie cover or something. But this dog is sitting there with a sword up in the sky with poached eggs and runny eggs streaming down its face, Humpty Dumpty shot with an arrow onto the wall. Fun stuff, just the crazier I can take it with something like that. If you give me liberty to do it, I'm going to enjoy doing that for sure. One of the things that I really want to point out to folks too is that my working and my living motto is that every dog is different. You can have, as we all know, two pugs sitting right next to each other, but they're going to look and act completely different. So that's what it is that I try to point out and pull out in all my drawings, is what it is that makes this particular animal unique.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at things like where the markings end on one paw versus where they end on another paw, where the markings on the chest are asymmetrical,
Mm-hmm.
the markings on the muzzle are asymmetrical. I'm looking at everything right there that will help you identify that that is your dog. I have no desire to just draw a random animal. It doesn't do me any good, and that's not why you came to me. I used to go to a lot of AKC events when I first started doing this, and it was very strange to me that people would come up with their dog, ask me to draw a caricature of their dog, but they don't want me to draw what the dog actually looks like. Please don't draw my dog with as much yellow as she has in her face. She's not supposed to have that much yellow. And I'm like, well, okay, you want a picture of that dog over there, so you don't want me to draw your dog. And I got a lot of that at AKC events, and so I don't do a lot of AKC events anymore. I do more pet related events where I can draw what it is that makes an animal look unique, as opposed to what it is that makes it look breed correct, if that makes sense.
Wow. I would never do that. I will tell you, I have Scottish deerhounds, and to some people they're not beautiful. I'm not one of those people. I think they're beautiful.
Uh-huh.
But I was actually at a dog show once with one of my dogs, and someone came up to me and said, "That's the ugliest dog I've ever seen."
Yeah,
Literally.
what? Really?
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine telling anyone that their dog was ugly? Just unbelievable.
Yeah, well, when I worked, I'm gonna have to do a sound check here because I have to take my AirPods out of my ears. So let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're not as loud as you were, but you're still fine. I can still hear you.
Okay, I'll try to speak up a little bit more.
Oh,
But
I
when I
see
was
you're
working at
dying,
the
huh? They only have 9%. I just saw that on your.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me working all day. But when I was working at the theme parks, it was always so interesting to me that I would have a dad come up to me and say, "Hey, I want to bring my son over. If you would draw him, that'd be great. But when you do, don't do anything about his ears." And I'm like, dude, you're telling the caricature artist not to look at a specific feature. That's how am I supposed to ignore that, dude? What's wrong with you? And why are you you need to have a different conversation with your son about his self-image. That's how I feel. I'm not there to parent anybody, but I would have that. And so when I go to I don't have a whole lot of dogs getting mad at me for how big I'm drawing their noses. But I do have some pet parents who will say, yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, her ears aren't really that big. Well, of course they're not. I'm drawing a caricature.
So we have a question from someone in the audience who wanted to know. They said they saw on your website that you have drawn many dogs and some cats. What is the most bizarre species you have been commissioned to draw?
Species, huh? Well, it probably doesn't sound that bizarre, but drawing snakes is difficult because how do you exaggerate a snake?
Right.
So doing, I remember doing a pet expo, and people were showing up with pets that were not your average, uh, dog or cat, but a spider monkey, not a spider monkey, a sugar glider.
Okay.
If somebody has in their pocket, can you draw my sugar glider? I hadn't practiced for that at all. Um, but I tell you what, and it's a great question, because my what it is that I love about what I do is I am fascinated by the diversity of life on this planet.
Mhm.
Um, from one species to the next, how it is that um, all of these creatures can exist on the same planet together is so amazing to me. And then inside the canine world, from breed to breed, they're so incredibly different. A basset hound with its white tips on its tail and its long ears and its big nose, it's a very specific caricature of an animal, and I love getting the opportunity to draw different species, hippopotamus, rhinos. When I was working at the Columbus Zoo, I did a couple of events for them. They had a bowling for rhinos event that they did every year, and that was my first chance to really get out and draw wild animals. So that to me is just really fun, and that I get to stretch myself quite a bit. I did a card game a few years ago for a couple of guys in the UK who I think the game was called Wild Card. And
Mhm.
what their plan is they wanted me to draw it was a badger, a honey badger, a
Uh-huh.
wasp, all these different characters for this game, and it was any chance I get to do that is pretty awesome. All right, so what you can see here, basically, I'm trying to block in some colors. Once I get the details into this face, um, the eyes really are the window to the soul. So I'm about to do the eyes next. Um, but I'm going to jump out of here and show you a few more drawings too, if that's okay, and then I'll come back and work on this drawing a little bit more. All right, where were we? So we left off with Blossom here. Um, this guy, uh, the, the customer in particular, she wanted to make sure that I got I don't know if you call it cherry or strawberry, but the little, the thing in the eye there. The dog likes the word cigar, sits up like this, wears bow ties. So you give me those descriptions and it becomes a cigar smoking, martini drinking, tuxedo wearing uh, dog who's looks pretty suave, I think.
Oh yeah.
This one just came up this Halloween, wanting me to very. It was a general request, which was to draw um, my boy in a mad scientist Dr. Frankenstein scene for Halloween. Um, I put a lot of stuff in here. I don't know what kind of math I think is on the papers right behind his head, but it's something that works out well for creating his creature of all of his toys. Um, Being given that kind of leeway to do whatever I want, and I don't know how this machine works, but pulleys and levers, and we got it's plugged in the wall. I don't know if that's enough power to generate this machine,
To
but
animate an inanimate object, probably not, but
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
What's that?
probably not. But who knows? Maybe there's a couple other plugs somewhere. But good for her for recognizing her dog's very interesting
Absolutely.
choice of hairstyle.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that. Um,
Aw.
This is Juliet. She loves the llama and crawfish toys. She enjoys playing high five with the squirrels at the window. And she also pointed out to me that the Juliet does not have a tail. So every cat is different as well. So I can appreciate that as we all put human uh, feelings and activities onto our pets and what it is they're doing. I can appreciate that she sees that Juliet is playing high five with the squirrel.
So cute.
And
Aw.
when I'm drawing just basics, just what the pet looks like. A lot of times when I have multiple dogs in one drawing, their relationship is just as important. Caricaturizing that relationship can be just as exaggerated. And there's a lot of love in
Aw.
sisters and how it is that they treat each other. I have drawn some where the animals hate each other, and those are just as fun. But I like love. My heart is filled with love, and I do this with love. So whenever I get a chance to show that in the animals, I'm definitely going to do that. Jump back here if that's okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm dying to see this finish.
Yeah, these I've learned so much over the years, and being able to take what it is that I was doing at the theme parks and putting it into action here on an iPad. It's been a journey for me to figure it out, but it's my particular style that I've developed over the years, and I'm still learning. Every drawing that I do is a new process for me.
Do you feel more inspired when you're working digitally than you used to, or less inspired, or what impact does it have?
Well, I had gotten to a point where I was pretty much working on autopilot
Mhm.
before I needed the change. So I'm inspired by not knowing the answer every time I go to put the pen down onto the stylus down onto the screen,
Mhm.
not knowing what's going to happen this time. Um, and the autopilot kind of turned me off for a while. And doing the traditional marker and colored pencil. I lost a few customers. Naturally, I was expecting that would have just preferred that I stayed doing what I always did. But
Mhm.
as an artist, I felt like I needed to grow. And with everything else that I have been doing with Canine Caricatures, having my wife there to support and encourage me to do all of it, um, to take the risk of not only quitting the job at the zoo and drawing dogs for a living, but then stopping what I've been doing for 10 years with marker and colored pencil and working digitally. It was scary. But do I find it? I, I get inspired by the fact that I don't know what I'm doing all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, my background's in journalism, and I I'm old enough that I remember when we moved from kind of like taking notes with pencils to using lots of digital options that we now have. And
Yeah.
I prefer to type. I turn my brain off, and the words that I'm listening to just sort of flow through without my conscious attention. I can type listening to a presentation, but if I have to take handwritten notes, I'm it totally distracts me. So I understand exactly what you're saying, that I think different parts of your brain are involved with different tools and different methods.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And when I do other artwork as well, I get inspired to whenever I get inspired to draw or paint something that is not digital anymore. It is definitely not a dog, um, and typically it's not faces of any kind. Um, it'll be of a back, silhouette, or my wife is an artist also, and she is constantly working on stuff in the house that blows me away and inspires me to try something also. Um, so it's great having that in the house to be able to inspire me as well.
So I noticed you had to change some of your procedures working with your clients due to COVID. What changes did you have to make?
Well, just number one, shipping is has become a very, very difficult issue. Not only shipping my stuff, a drawing on paper, either rolled in a tube or that I've framed and shipping it out, um, would take forever. All of a sudden, because it wasn't just me shipping it out; it's USPS dealing with all of their post offices and shortages of uh, manpower and supplies all of a sudden. Um, and anything that I was selling online, as far as the products, T-shirts or prints of artwork, they aren't coming from me. They're coming from my print supplier, who, for some reason, if they were shipping something to Canada, it would get shipped from the Ukraine. I would have no control over it whatsoever. So in order to be able to meet my commitment of getting drawings done in a timely manner, a lot of times these are gifts, and they're for somebody's birthday, or it's a wedding anniversary or something. It's got to get there on time. So now what we do is I don't ship anything. Um, I am providing you with a digital copy that requires absolutely no shipping whatsoever. Um, like I said earlier, I love it when people support their local businesses. There is a local printer near you that you would be surprised at the work that they do, and small businesses being able to frame their own artwork. Go check them out. We offer the convenience of having somebody else do it. I just cannot uh, guarantee that it's going to get to you in time for whatever it is you're getting that drawing for, birthday or whatever. That's the main reason. I know that a lot of people were very concerned about, early on with COVID, not knowing, um, what is it that gets you sick? Is it touching? Is it
Right.
breathing on something? So taking my hands off of it completely and offering a product that is digital, that is still hand drawn. It's just simply drawn with a different medium. Um, often has given folks a lot of peace of mind. At least early on, it was giving people peace of mind that their drawing was not being touched by 100 people, and not knowing where it was going. They had they could control it themselves. COVID-19 changed a lot of stuff for me and for everybody else.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, I just looked to see if we had any other questions because I was watching you draw and I forgot to look, but we didn't. So if anyone does have any questions for John, please post them either in the chat window or in the Q&A window, and I will ask him those questions for you.
Okay, I'm going to bounce real quick back to these examples, because when I come back, I will be finishing up that drawing.
Okay.
Okay. Where were we? We were right here. Okay, so do I have folks get upset at me? Yes, I do. But when your dog is as beautiful as this, and you do not recognize, this woman refused the drawing. She did not want me to send it to her. She said, that does not look like my dog. And I don't know. I kind of think it does. It's Yeah, that is a very unusual looking animal. She yelled at me via email that I made her dog look like a fat, as she put it, a fat crack addict. And
Sorry, I shouldn't.
I love the fact that she's got such an amazing looking dog. Um, again, the more unique, the better. That caricature artists live for a face like this. So this one I loved. The customer not so much, and this never got sent off to her, and I've got it hanging in my studio. This particular one, this is I don't know the name of the cat, but this is Foo. The cat's name is Foo. The customer wanted a chicken drumstick hanging out of his mouth, or in the picture somehow. We think he's an alien, so some kind of outer space situation would be great. So I realized that, yeah, that's probably why all the cats are here, is just for the KFC.
Great.
Next one here is my girlfriend calls, this is Prim. Okay, so my girlfriend calls her nicknames like Pumpkin, Butters, and Bubbles. I could go on with the description, but that's basically what I drew. You know, Pumpkin, Butters, and Bubbles. That's who this dog is. Oh, and the dog likes to walk on its hind legs for periods of time.
So funny.
So there you go. Just like with movie scenes, I love it when folks ask me to do stuff like this, which is to recreate famous painting or famous photo or something. So getting the chance to do American Gothic with yet another squirrel, I jumped at that chance. This dog was described to me as not being good with other dogs. And they see her as a little bit of a hitman or woman because she's a girl. So I had to think,
God,
okay, so
I just saw what you did there. That's okay. That's dark.
yeah, I had to think, how am I going to do this in a way that is still, it's going to suggest something, but it's not so dark that you're not going to put it up on the wall. You know, I don't know what that dog in the background did. Maybe he doesn't even know what he did, but it's going to be sleeping with the fishes. I like to think, though, that the water is only about a foot deep. So that's the continuation of this story. Sometimes the requests are very, very difficult to pull off, and I have to figure it out as I go. This is Crush. It's supposed to be a duck hunting dog, but is way too timid to be a hunting dog. She's afraid of loud noises. We picture Crush out laying in the sun because she goes outside and rolls on her back for 15 minutes with her tongue out because she's always licking, and with one eye open, watching what her brother and sister are doing, and one eye closed, dreaming about dog biscuits. So all of that's right there. But the difficulty is in, how do I draw a dog that you know is sleeping with an eye open without the context?
Yeah.
So counting dog biscuits jumping over the fence as the sheep.
That's great.
A lot of times these suggestions are very specific, but they're not always. So back to the drawing. I'm going to finish this up here within the next couple of minutes. I never make mistakes.
Of course not.
Oops, I just made one. Look at that. I don't. I refuse to make mistakes.
Yeah,
I always.
I'm sure none of you in the audience make mistakes either. I mean, we're all perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to train a lot of artists too at the theme parks, and I had to explain to them that when you're drawing somebody, they can't see what you're drawing. So you have to, when you go to show it to them, you've got to take that paper off of your easel and show it to them with the most amount of confidence that you can muster, because you're showing them that, yes, this is exactly what I meant to do. So you may think it's horrible. They may think it's amazing, but it doesn't matter because it's what you meant to do. So be proud of that. That was a difficult one to get people to really, buy into. But I always said too, as soon as you go to sign your name to something at the very bottom, that is your way of saying, and that's what I meant to do. Bam. And you turn around and show it to somebody with that pride. And they can be mad at you or they can be surprised, but at least they know you did everything exactly how you intended to. And real quick here, my wife hates this story, but I'll tell it to you. She's going to ask me when I finish up here, she's going to say, hey, you didn't tell the alien story, did you? But yeah, you're about to get it. So when I would teach caricature art to artists, the most important thing that I would have to tell people is that you have to have a philosophy about what it is that you're doing. It's not just about drawing a picture with a marker and a colored pencil. You have to have a philosophy of what you're doing. My philosophy has always been, imagine that the aliens just landed and they have given all of us jobs to do. And the job that they have given you to do is to document the entire human species. And the two problems with it are that you don't speak their language. They do not speak your language. So you've got to do all of that documenting visually. So that's the first part of it. You got to draw pictures of what the entire human species looks like. The other problem is that all of these aliens that have given you this job to do, they all think all of us crazy humans look alike. So it's your job as a caricature artist to point out to them what it is that makes all of us look different. And that, to me, is the philosophy of caricature art. It's aliens.
I don't know why your wife doesn't like that story. And it's interesting. I don't know how many of you in the audience are involved with the practice management of your business, your vet practice, or whatever. But one of the things I do when I'm working with veterinary practices to help them with their communications is ask them what their mission statement is. And it's usually something really generic, like to provide high quality veterinary care and, have great client service, or, it's very generic. And I spend all my time trying to get them to articulate what makes them completely different from every other vet practice in the country, in the world. And why are they, what makes them special? Like, what is it that sets them apart? So I'm going to steal your alien story, Mary.
Yeah, steal it. I don't want to say that she doesn't like the story, but she believes in science that can be proven. So she hates it when I start talking about time travel and aliens and stuff because it's all theoretical.
But it's also just a metaphor. So
That's my point too. It's a beautiful metaphor. I'm not saying the aliens have landed.
Right, because I love science and evidence as well. So yeah, get your wife in here. I want to talk to her.
I did a seminar not too long ago at the National Caricaturist Society. There is one, by the way, international. And I came back from that and she said, did you tell the story? Yeah, baby, I did. It went over really well. But this is basically it. I'm going to take a little bit of time after we're done here to clean up some details on this. But this is, as we said, Bobby, who loves to play with Frisbees. Like I said, I'm going to clean it up some. I got some details that I need to put in there, some extra freckles and hairs and places that I would normally spend an hour doing. But I end each one of these with a splash of color in the background. I like to use, especially with black and white dogs, I like to use a cool color to bring out the highlights a little bit.
Mhm.
So I'll do a little color here. Oh,
Whoops, we lost your screen share.
you did.
We did.
Well, that was the most amazing part too. You missed it. There we go.
Oh, that looks great.
Yeah, so I'll just I'll throw in the background a little bit. Oh, jeez, come on, Johnny. Where do we go?
And we did get one more question just in
Okay.
case you want to answer. You already talked a little bit about this. Do you have pets yourself? And do you enjoy drawing them or do you avoid drawing them because they're yours?
I don't have a lot of time to draw them. I'm drawing 5-6 days a week. I draw my pets for
John, we're just
sometime.
seeing a black screen, by the way, just so you know.
You just see a black screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me try that again here.
We see you.
Start broadcast again. Let me know when you see something.
No, the screen share. Oh, here it's come back.
Okay. But I do
Not
draw
seeing
them.
you draw.
Huh?
Hold on, we still weren't seeing you draw or your art. There we go. We got him. Okay.
All right. They're
Drawing your
used
pets,
to being
yeah.
drawn. But I don't do a lot of drawing of them just because I'm working on your drawings.
Right.
I use them a lot for practice though. And as I said, once you go to sign your name at the bottom, you say that, as they say, is that, and that's how I finish it off. So Jana, I will be in touch with you after I get this cleaned up a little bit more, and we'll go from there.
Well, that's great. I want to thank you so much for doing this with us this evening, John, and to thank everyone who took the time to be with us. We really appreciate it. And also, all of us at Fear Free hope that you can all stay safe and remember to care for yourselves and be easy on yourselves and not spend all of your time taking care of everyone else. And this is our last fun webinar of the year, but we're going to continue these into 2021, which will hopefully be a better year than 2020 for all of us. And we're doing our part to make that happen. So we will see all of you at the next webinar. And again, thank you so much, John. This was really great.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And yes, everybody stay safe. Thank you.
Bye-bye.